Hey, what is up, YouTube? JankyYGO. My name is Michael. I'm we're just back with the podcast, I guess. Uh, I'm
Yeah.
just here to talk about, I guess, second anniversary for Master Duel and some of the stuff that's going on in Master Duel. So, lots of things, I guess. There's a second anniversary bundle. There is a Chaos Max little buddy that you can have. There's a second year anniversary gym discount. Uh, there's a new pack we're going to talk about later. There's a new selection pack that has all the like meta relevant cards over the last so many years. Sprite got a new pack. Uh, and there's even more login bonuses and stuff like that because of the second anniversary. So, without further ado, I guess we'll jump into some of the new packs and everything. So, there's the Name of Champions, which is lasting 60 days, and it features like Ash Blossom and DPE. And the cool thing, at least about for I know some people will go crazy over it. I don't really care. Ash Blossom is the feat Ash Blossom pick.
The best blossom. Oh goodness. Also, you did not tell me about the Chaos Max companion. Why wouldn't you give me this news before we record?
I gotta keep you on your toes. But yeah, so the cards in this pack include Verte, Access Code, me, Warlord Savage, Baron de Fleur, DPE, Ash Blossom, Lady Labyrinth, Raigeki, and a whole bunch of good and relevant cards, even the punks and evenly matched and stuff like that. So, if you're looking to get into Master Duel, um, uh, I might recommend you at least looking at this pack. But still, I think you go with the bundles first. But anywho, on to the other selection pack that came out a few days ago is Ride into the Future, which has the Diabell Star stuff, Crimson Dragon, new TG stuff, and it's already making a splash on Master Duel. I haven't run into it because I'm pretty low ranked at the moment. I haven't been playing too much, but from what I've seen, there are people and like platinum and diamond that are playing like the Diabell Star stuff just on their own and not having them really be splashed into anything like they are here in the TCG. But I still think it's relevant to talk about and everything because we don't have Fire Kings yet, but I don't think we need Fire Kings for this deck to be good. So, but just keep in mind, I have watched that deck brick really, really hard. So,
But poor people can actually play with the deck and not complain about not being able to play it IRL, right?
I mean,
Right?
yeah, technically, I guess if you get lucky. A lot of the cards are ultra though. So
I
like,
mean, just use your ultras that you didn't spend on all the other things that the
yeah.
game has.
So there's five ultra rares that you need to get. Since you're not playing it as an engine and you are playing it more as a its own unique deck, you actually have to play three Diabell stars and like probably multiple Pop Leos. You always played multiple of the wanted poster for her, and like one or two of this card anyway. The rest are like supers and lower though, so it's not too bad. I'm pretty sure Flamberg was a one of, so but yeah, so I would recommend if you guys like playing meta, look into those and everything because they're probably going to be the next best deck unless they get hit really soon. Uh, Speaking of a good deck and stuff like that, I mentioned earlier, sprites have their own secret pack now. So, and they're mixed with battery men of all things, probably because they're both thunders.
The Thunders, man.
That's about it. I like.
It'd be great if it was Watts, just so that the Watt Sprite players can have something.
You mean all like three of them?
They're, they're wrong. There's more than three of them. I know there's more than three of them. Like, because I've seen three different accounts post about them before, and that just means that, like, or at least six different accounts post about them. So, I mean, there's got to be at least six of them that like that deck.
I guess I should also mention while we're here the alternate arts for Unicorn, Nightmare Unicorn, Eldritch, and Appaloosa are back. So, if you're into those, that's cool. Oh, also, yeah. So with the anniversary rewards, one of the things you get every now and then is when you log in every couple of things, you get these second anniversary tickets, which open one random pack, and which opens a pack out of the Dark Magician, the Blue Eyes, the Black Luster Soldier, the Harvey's Feather Duster, uh, Crystal Beast, TG's. I think that's a Numeron pack or whatever. Phantom Knights, and I think that's the Adignister pack. So yeah, you get one of these, and then you get a guaranteed ultra rare, so and everything like that. So that's also part of the anniversary rewards. So if you play Master Duel, or you stop playing Master Duel, and are thinking about getting back into it, I'd maybe consider that. But there's this, like I said, this 3,000 gem bundle, and you get the OG Blue Eyes White Dragon art, as well as they're the one from the anime. I guess technically it wasn't the very, maybe it was the first printing in TCG. Uh, I don't. I know that the very first printing of Blue Eyes technically wasn't the one from the anime that Kaiba had. It was the one that, like, it's from Legend of Blue Eyes is art. But so yeah, it
I don't even think that was a first printing because wasn't those decks released at the same time as LOB in
there was a few week
TCG?
difference. There was like a few week or month difference or something like that. It was very close though. But
Huh.
I guess we can talk about something else. Since we've talked about kind of the Master Rewards. Oh, I guess hold on. We'll talk about one more thing. So the next two events that are coming up are the Legend Anthology Acceleration, which the Legend Anthologies are supposed to be for, like, I don't know, kind of like anime like decks or whatever. It I've never been a fan of these ones though myself. I'm planning on playing uh, novels, but one thing I do like about this one in particular, and I think in the next event as well for the Synchro Link event, yeah. So both events have Max C banned.
Oh,
I think that they are trying out more events where Max C is banned to see how people respond to it, since Master Duel has a lot of OCG players, and it's funny because the OCG players seem split on it too. So, like, where they argue back and forth whether Max C is good or bad. So it's just kind of funny thing, and all that I've noticed, that no
they,
matter where you go, people are arguing whether the bug is good or bad for the game.
yeah. Well, I mean, they've never had a point where they haven't had access to it, so.
I know, but still, it's funny that even over there, there's a lot of them that are fed up with the bug and want to be like
Yeah.
the TCG where we don't have it. But it does raise all kinds of other issues not having the bug, like Droll and Lock is our max C over here in the TCG. You pretty much have to play like 2 or 3 of it at this point.
Well, but Draw and Lock at least has points where it falls out of favor and then comes back into favor. With Max C, I don't see any point where it would fall out of favor like completely.
Well, yeah, that's like someone I was watching one of the videos that was like against Max C, and they brought up a good point for something similar for like Ash Blossom. So over here in the TCG, Ash Blossom completely fell out of favor for 2 metas in particular, for Sprite tier limit meta and for just pure tier limit the tier limit tier 0 meta. Ash Blossom fell out of favor because Ash Blossom didn't stop those decks enough. But in Master Duel, Ash Blossom never stopped seeing play, not because it was good against those decks, but because of Max C existing on Master Duel. So it made this weird dynamic where you had to immediately put 6 cards into your deck and everything before you built the deck. And I think that that's an argument for against Maxi, is it makes deck building too linear, because at the moment on Master Duel, I'm starting to get to that point where I'm starting to think about playing Droll and finding room for Droll Unlock on top of Maxi and on top of Ash Blossom. So, because I think Master Duel is slowly approaching that point too, but
Yeah.
which means there's 9 cards that you have to play, not including possibly Forbidden Droplets, which is really good against going second because it's best of one, or Infinite Impermanence as well, and that's another like 12 cards that you have to at least consider playing. So it deck building becomes a lot more linear with certain hand traps like the bug.
Yeah.
Point is, I just don't like Max C, and the TCG event that happened felt so good. Like even when it's like, oh, I lost the coin toss, and now my opponent makes this big board and everything, I'm like, okay, well now I got to figure out how to beat this big board, and it was like a puzzle. Other than not, rather than uh, I go first, they maxi me, and I go, well, I guess I'm probably gonna lose because I have to play through it or stop, and if I stop, I'm gonna die. And if I play through it, uh, I gave them everything they need, so I can't be mad about them just beating me. So,
I think it's interesting though. I wonder how many people actually had to relearn how to play, or even learn how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like without Max C. Like how many Master Duel people played that event and went, I don't know how to play this game,
uh,
because like your counter strategies no longer draw Max C and hope for the best. It's you got to actually put some deck building thought into what if I end up going second. It's just it's wild, you know.
I saw some people complaining about the event on line, but like but I saw more people positive about the event than negative. I'm going to preface that, but the people who were negative about it uh, hated it because of Maxi not having Maxi, and said going second felt impossible. And then I replied to a lot of those comments where I said you should. There are tons of cards you could be playing that don't require Maxi to break boards. Instead of 3 Maxi, have you considered Forbidden Droplet? That breaks a board. That can break a board. Dark Ruler no more. That messes up those big combo boards. Kaiju's are really, really good. Ash Blossom, Droll Unlock, Infinite Impermanence, all these cards you don't have to play all of them either. You don't have to play all of them, but a lot of them are really good.
That's
Yeah,
pretty interesting. Yeah.
because I mean, you play the TCG stuff, and you know that we've dealt with decks that build these big boards several times, and we still find ways to out them, even with bad decks. It's
Oh yeah.
it's not, and the thing about the TCG list compared to the OCG is the TCG list has less FTKs. Like, there are less FTKs I've run into playing TCG than I have ever playing Master Duel, because the decks that are the cards that punish, like Maxi punishes those big combo decks and everything, because if they mess up their FTK, they're gonna lose. However, the downside about it is, you could just get FTK'd and just lose anyway. But yeah,
Yeah.
there, I've seen a lot of arguments for and against Maxi. Funny enough, this wasn't originally gonna be a discussion on the bug, but I guess it's a good enough topic anyway. Um, so I've seen a lot of discussion, and people who have never played without the bug, or quit playing Yu-Gi-Oh and then came back to Master Duel, like you brought up, and didn't know how to play with it, said that Maxi doesn't seem that big of a deal about and everything, and and then they presented the quote unquote choice Maxi players have that people that are playing against it have, and then people who have played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh uh, actually played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh told them in the replies, okay, so what happens then when uh, you go first, or your opponent goes first, you maxi them, and they build their board, and then you have the cards to out it, right? Okay, cool. Now, or vice versa, and then or they stop and you OTK them. But either way, it made going first feel impossible. And then the argument was, well, going second feels impossible without it. And then obviously I brought up the cards that help you out that stuff. But another thing that they brought up, okay, imagine this though. Player one goes first. They do their combo. You don't have Max C. They have like two cards left in hand, and they build their big board and stuff like that. Alright, you think, okay, I can break it. I just gotta, bait some stuff out and then special summon my stuff. And then on your draw phase, they just fire Max C. They just shotgun Max C. And then they did full combo and had Max C. So it makes you playing out of that combo feel next to impossible. Because now they have they're probably going to draw the hand traps to stop you from doing your combo and everything. So that's that. And then someone brought up as an important thing, okay, alternatively, you maxi them, they make a small amount of plays, they only special summon like once or twice, and put up like maybe one negate. Okay? And then, you go and they fire maxi on you and everything, and then you're gonna and then it's fair. My argument for against that is it is not fair because you only have to play through one negate and the hand traps you probably were already going to have to try to play through in the first place. So you as the turn second player, all you could OTK them probably pretty easily. And that's my stance on why I don't think Max C is good. Because it turns the game into it pretty much feels like you shut off one player's ability to play the game completely, rather than uh the other argument of it allows player two to play. It doesn't, because it makes player one not play, but it makes player two uh it doesn't make player two as strong as you think it does. That's the point I guess I'm trying to make.
Yeah,
But
no, it's not a very fair card to play against, to play with. Yeah, no, it's way too powerful because, like you said, going first is great, going second it's fine, but and it's like going second, it like you said, it feels awful having to break a board and your opponent just max sees you. You go, cool. So even if I break this board, I'm probably going to lose.
mm-hmm. It's funny because with the Maxi minigame, um, so a strategy that you that our friend AJ and you and I have started to do now, and I think it's made us better players in general, is we start playing for turn 3 in the TCG without Maxi and everything. We play in a way that when we go first, we're setting up our board, but we remember to keep enough resources so that we have a turn 3, so that for turn 3 we can do this again. We've started kind of leaning towards the turn 3 gameplay going first, and possibly the turn 4 gameplay going second, uh, and everything. And with Max C, I think it takes out a lot of the skill of being able to prepare yourself for that type of mentality of, hey, my goal is maybe to OTK you, and if I fail to OTK you on turn 2, I should have a backup plan for turn 4. And then same thing with turn 1 is I'm gonna set up my board and then have a backup plan on turn 3 in case something goes wrong. I think Maxi takes that skill of play out of the equation entirely.
Yeah. I do like the turn play to turn 3 ability, or the ability to play to turn 3 though.
Yeah.
It's a crazy concept. I at first I watched it in action. I watched a whole regional where that was the whole entire plan, was to make it to turn 3. And it was ridiculous because there's a lot of people that are not playing thinking that the game's gonna last that long. You just get wins you normally wouldn't get.
Yeah. Okay, I guess that's our topic on Maxi. Um, I guess we could talk about the last thing I put down to talk about is how decks move up and down tiers sometimes without being hit at all, and that does happen. Sometimes it's through power creep in general, and sometimes it's just good matchups happen to line up. So, guess we could talk about that. Maybe some examples of that, because one of the prime examples I thought of with this topic is Exo Sisters.
Okay. Explain.
Okay, so Exo Sister during Sprite tier format started getting tops. Uh, Exo Sister, I don't think, as much as I love the deck, is actually that good of a deck. I think it just had an okay matchup against Sprite and Tearlament, respectively, before the Ishizu cards. Now, Exo Sisters did get a few wins and tops during Tier 0 format, uh, with the Ishizu Tearlament, but I think that was more on the back of Dimension Shifter than anything. So, that was a prime example. Another prime example, I think, um, for TCG at least, was MathMech. So MathMech just kind of, you know, disappeared, didn't really have any meta relevance, and then all of a sudden, in Sprite tier format, uh, it was seen as the third best deck. It's because the
Hmm.
idea was, oh, well, how do those decks Final Sigma, which is unaffected by everything and is really big? And the answer, surprise, surprise, was you make Goddess. But but it was a little bit harder for Sprite, I think, to out at turn 1, and they would have to do the IP line for it. But like Tier Limit didn't care. We could just throw out a bunch of monsters. But yeah, that's my take on some of them. Uh, you have any examples you can think of?
Um, let's see. Didn't let's see. Paleozoic was a decent example of a deck that kind of went through the tiers.
Oh yeah,
It had, and not even me. This is not even me. There is actually things back it up. It has a lot of weird tops that just no one was expecting the deck, and it just like let's bam, tops one event, and it was so obscure because it was just the list shifted perfectly enough that it could just jump into a spot and be like, yeah, I took a YCS, or
yeah. Wasn't Volcanics like that? Like the few tops that Volcanics got, wasn't it because it just happened to have a good matchup against the other decks?
Yeah, because Volcanic could board wipe Zoo,
Yeah.
and then you could also play Stun. So you played Stun Volcanic was the correct deck to play. It
Mm,
was the counter to Zoo, to pure Zoo, because you would basically you would play the barrier statues or anything that just stuns the opponent, and you break their board, stun them, and then just beat their face down until you win.
y-
um and
yeah.
Volcanic was surprisingly, it was good at anti-meta. So before the game got too fast, Volcanics always had this weird resurgence where you were just playing one bad day with Volcanics.
That
And
kind
then
of
one bad day kind of became its own deck that just kind of got away from Volcanics because of how slow and how the draw engines of Yu-Gi-Oh over time got so much better that being able to draw off of the trap wasn't quite as good as just straight up activating a pop card and
yeah.
going ham.
Well, that reminds me of oh god, what was it that day? Oh, Infernoids. How Infernoids were seen as a threat, and then they just disappeared. And then they would constantly kind of pop up every now and then because they happened to have an okay matchup, and they have a weird matchup against like other certain decks and everything, and that happened for like 2 or 3 years where Infernoid would just kind of fall out of favor because people realized the deck isn't that good. And then all of a sudden, it would be back in favor because it had just one particularly good matchup, and people would try it again.
Yeah, it's just hilarious though.
Uh,
Yeah, Volcanics did it. Infernoids, they did it. um what was that deck? It doesn't matter.
Um. Oh. To a lesser degree, Evil Swarms did it as well, but
They did it as an anti-meta, more of an anti-meta call for
yeah.
any deck that was copying, that was playing anything that was level restricted. So if Light Swarm was what we were seeing at the middle tables, and you could play Evil Swarm as a counter to it. Light Swarm,
Yeah.
strangely enough, that deck has popped up over time as one of those weird, you know, advances its tier just because it is what it is. Um, but it's like Evil Swarm could do that. It kind of popped up like Shaddoll format. You could just play an Evil Swarm deck, and most of your terrible matchups, you still had a spell card that said, "Yeah, I'm just unaffected by your outs."
Mm. Well, that's what the idea was for Evil Swarm versus Spellbooks is because of infestation or whatever. But the thing is it was funny because that deck actually still had a kind of bad matchup against Spellbooks regardless of that, which is like kind of funny because the whole idea of Evil Swarm being the quote unquote third deck in Dragon Ruler and Spellbook format was that it's supposed to shut down Dragon Rulers and what's it called? Be good against Spellbooks because of that. But it was funny because it didn't matter that and everything because Spellbooks could play to the next turn and be fine because Evil Swarm had trouble OTKing and spellbooks were really good at grinding, so it didn't matter that your one or two of my thing can't be as unaffected by spell and trap cards because it was pretty easy to just wait out that turn. But certain things like that kind of are strange because there's also we could talk about this too, I guess. Uh how certain decks should be good in theory versus another one, but end up falling flat. Uh, like I said, I guess Evil Swarm kinda was like that. Um, I think some decks are also sleeper picks too, but were sleeper picks in the past. But oh, excuse me.
Can we
But
just talk about how you just said sleeper pick? And so I know a lot of people, all one of you that will probably watch this video or listen to it, aren't really, probably not really into cars.
mhm.
But the sleeper terminology is actually from the world or from like a mechanic's point of view on a car that like you don't expect it to be packing that kind of power because you might have swapped the engine or something. And I love that Yu-Gi-Oh is like a bunch of nerds and all this other stuff, but we just take every other nerd culture's words and like phrases and use them as if they're our own.
I mean that that happens even in like across card games too. You'll still get people asking, "What does that mean?" and everything. But for example, there's a lot of magic terminology that we borrow, but
Milling.
milling. Some I've heard some people call searching tutoring even in what's it called? Even in Yu-Gi-Oh that don't play Magic or whatever. Um,
I hate it when they say tutoring though, because it just sounds so stupid to me. Even in Magic terminology, and I get where it comes from because I played Magic because you had, the cards that did that and they were like tutors, but it sounds so freaking stupid.
I mean, yeah, kinda. I have a like because I played Magic as my primary game for so long. I will sometimes say it, but like they have a Rota or a Stratos also is what like we say because they're like the big examples of a spell that searches or in the terms of Stratos a monster that searches on summon. So
Yeah, but like yeah, we we can discuss tutors later, maybe, and why it just sounds like ridiculous to me. Because I get it, calling an effect a Rhoda effect or even a Stratos effect sounds stupid, but doesn't I don't know, just tutor just seems so stupid to me.
uh here's an old term that I bet you haven't heard in a long time because I bet you a lot of like newer players don't know this term because it doesn't I haven't heard it in a long time from people. But do you remember when people would call monsters that have an effect that bring back another monster from the graveyard a wolf bark?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you'd call it like, and that phrase didn't really catch on too well. I don't think it went too far, but there for a while, people were like, "Oh, this is just a wolf bark, guys," and then like now, people would be like, "What does that even mean?" You
Uh
know?
yeah. There's a lot of funny Yu-Gi-Oh terminology that I bet you um people don't know where they came from, and I guess we could make a video on that later and not talk about it
Because
here.
it's just a game where we're just playing with cards that have these other terminologies, and with no context or even highlighting the cards, just start playing them and doing their effects and saying what the alternative. See how degrading, how degraded the game we can get, and show people how confusing it is to use terms like that.
Like just summon like a big stupid boss monster and call it a towers, and then
Towers.
have people not know what that means. because
Yeah.
because people don't surprisingly people don't know or don't know why people call it that anymore because they played the game after a certain thing. But I remember for literally, it's even to this day, I still hear that from older Yu-Gi-Oh players. And, oh, this monster is a towers. Uh,
Yeah.
but but like I said, we'll talk about what some I guess terminologies mean in a different video. Uh, I think it is interesting though. Back on the topic of decks just kind of moving up and down tiers without things getting hit. It just pretty much comes down to meta shifts, and this happens in other games too. Less so with card games, but with like video games, like competitive video games. A lot of the time, this has happened in Yu-Gi-Oh too for this example, but it happens more in other games. I've noticed is all these other decks just get hit and get hit and get hit. And this deck that's kind of hovering around tier 3 or tier 2 ish that nobody really thinks about is just kind of there. And then all of a sudden get hit, get hit, get hit. All its competition slowly gets hit. And all of a sudden this deck becomes super powerful and oppressive. And it's just because all the decks that could stomp it got hit. And that happens in other games too, where different like characters and everything. For in like League of Legends case, for example, there will be a character that doesn't get buffed or nerfed, and none of the items really get buffed a lot, but the champions and the characters that counter that particular character get nerfed so hard that that character just starts thriving, and that happens in Yu-Gi-Oh too with different decks.
I think my favorite thing of that is when sideboards in Yu-Gi-Oh change so dramatically that a deck that was being held back by the sideboard, that everyone played that sideboard, and now they're not. The deck just kind of comes in with like a backstab kind of thing, like, brink, oh, you forgot about me, didn't you? And then they just start topping an event, and then people try and play that deck and they start doing terribly because everyone's just sideboarding for it again, and they're just like, what is this? It's like, dude, that's the backstab.
A good example of that, and when a deck all of a sudden became a meta threat, is Blue Eyes.
Yeah,
Blue Eyes was
I was
never
ready.
Blue Eyes was never a good deck, and I'm gonna stand by that. Blue Eyes has always been awful, even in the quote unquote meta that it was like the best deck in, or one of the best deck in. That deck is awful and was awful then. It just so happened that it was really good against the only two decks that had not been nerfed into the ground at that present time, which was Pendulum Magician and uh, Burning Abyss.
Yeah.
Because of just because of Spirit Dragon in particular. Spirit Dragon was carrying that deck on its back, and you could completely shut that deck down if you just had a kaiju. but but I'm also convinced that the only reason Blue Eyes ever topped and didn't play against those decks because they drew Soul Charge every game.
Oh yeah, no. Soul Charge is the best support for Blue Eyes ever.
Just like Draglubion. Draglubion's the best Blue Eyes card they've ever printed. And I'm gonna stand by that.
Yeah. Oh god. I play Blue Eyes, I know.
I remember I had to convince you to play the twin headed one or the Blue Eyes Twin Burst because you didn't believe me. And then it came up like one game when you didn't play it and stuff like that. And then you put it in, and then it like when you were on your way to climb to the top with Blue Eyes, and you did, that card came up more often than it should have.
Yeah.
you had to also break out of your mindset of always summoning it because it kept like you could kill them with Dragluvion, but you kept like going for that because it kept saving you in like a lot of situations. I remember I'd watch your streams or whatever when you were playing that deck.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've rambled on probably long enough. Even if this is a shorter episode, oh well. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to some of our takes. And of course, and as always, have a wonderful day.